There's only one thing anyone in the baseball world can talk about right now, and that is Ketel Marte.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Danon Biggs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Ketel Marte is like the #1 subject in every sports related conversation right now. At least maybe that's how it feels, just because with here in Arizona, the Cardinals are not exactly a subject people are talking about right now. However, the Suns, I guess, are. They're doing pretty well. So still, that is saying a lot. But I had to raise my chair because it was way too low. But it's crazy how just a little bit of, I almost wonder if this is intentional, but there's just a little bit of that, like, oh, the Diamondbacks might be interested in trading Ketel Marte. No, we're not. And now everybody's like, wait, we could get Ketel Marte. And the reason why Ketel Marte is so sought after isn't just because he's incredible at the plate and he's incredible defensively, but because he still has years and years on his contract until at least 2030. So that's 5 years. And then it's I think up to 22 million at the most a year for this all-star player. So yeah, every team is like, oh my gosh, if we could get a second baseman that could hit as well as Ketel Marte and have him for the next 5 years at least, yeah, we absolutely want him. So I don't blame anybody for salivating at the idea of having Ketel Marte on their team. I know I would be if he wasn't on if he wasn't on my team. But is there any real chance that anybody's going to get Ketel Marte? Is there a chance that the Diamondbacks would part with him? Is there any package that they could receive that would make that deal make sense? Because in my opinion, just to start with this, I don't think there really is a deal out there that that either GM would agree to and either fan base would be happy with. It would be, I'd be very amazed if everybody were to come out of that trade happy. And it's not going to be easy to convince Mike Hazen to trade away Ketel Marte, despite the rumors and the insider quote unquote reporting that the Diamondbacks are eager and what was the phrase, highly motivated to get rid of Ketel Marte. But we're going to talk about Ketel Marte today. We're going to talk about the teams that have expressed interest in him. Maybe not directly the teams, because we know that at least 7 teams have reached out about Ketel Marte. But looking just kind of at the buzz on the internet and looking at every other team's talks and what they're talking about, what they're going on about, kind of get an idea of who's interested. And then we're going to actually hear from you. We're going to look through your comments. A lot of you had thoughts, but also a lot of you had even some potential trades. And I'm kind of interested. Excuse me. I guess I'm allergic to trades, but some of them I'm kind of like, maybe. So I'm curious to see what you think. And then after that, we're going to talk about a handful of other things that have been happening in the Diamondbacks world, because there's quite a bit of news to go over, just nothing that quite I felt like I could stretch out into a whole segment, at least for, this morning. And we had a long weekend, as you may have known. We didn't post an episode on Friday because it's been a long week, and but the Thursday's episode seemed to have gotten a lot of people's attention, so that gave it that video enough time to breathe. So now we're going to talk about it. Anyway, I found from teams who's like maybe not directly the team, but websites and pages and blogs and stuff like that, reporters that are tied to these teams. I found a handful, and I want to go over some of them right now. But the biggest one I've seen is from the Seattle Mariners. I've seen a lot of people from Seattle saying, "Oh my gosh, we need to get to Ketel Marte," which we traded for Ketel Marte with Seattle when he was still in the minors. We got Ketel Marte from the Mariners, who drafted. I believe they're the ones who drafted him, and he. And so the idea of getting him back for them right now is kind of exciting. However, would they be able to? There's an article on foxsports.com that is titled, and I'm not, I guess I'm not really supposed to show the screen of the articles, so I will just tell you which one it is, which if you're listening to this, that doesn't make any difference, but that's okay. The title is Tigers Mariners 3 best trade fits for Diamondbacks second base Ketel Marte. And it goes into 3 different teams that they think would be a good fit. The Mariners, being in the title, are one of those. Now, this article is a good example of how people who don't understand the team as well as like the local fan base does and the local journalists and things, they don't understand exactly the worth of any of these players, quite frankly. And and that may be because the fan base overvalues, and I'm certain I'm overvaluing Ketel Marte as well as every other player on the Diamondbacks, but that's not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing, especially when it's somebody who's tried and true, proven like Ketel Marte is. But this article suggests that the Mariners could offer the Diamondbacks second baseman Cole Young and right-hander Emerson Hancock. Now, Cole Young is a fine second baseman, and he's young, and he'd be a long-term, he could be there for the long haul, but definitely not somebody worth trading an all-star for. And then the other is oh, I lost it. Here we go. Sorry, I'm clicking around on my computer. The second one, pitcher. Where'd it go? My goodness gracious. Sorry. And pitcher Emerson Hancock, each who were former first round picks. That is not I mean, Hancock is a relief pitcher. He's fairly good as well, but that's not even close to a good trade. That's a terrible trade. That'd be great for the Mariners, but the problem with a lot of these articles is they're not looking at it from the Diamondbacks perspective. They're looking at it from the receiving team's perspective, which so for the Mariners, it'd be like, oh man, if they could just get away with a trade with these two guys, oh man, they'd be good. No, if you want Ketel Marte, it's gonna hurt because it'll hurt the Diamondbacks, it'll hurt the fan base to get rid of him. So you're not just gonna be able to do that. So um so with that, I don't think there's even close to a possibility. We did have a few comments about potential trades with the Mariners that we'll get to later, but definitely not there. Another team that is brought up is the Red Sox. Boston Red Sox, and obviously would be incredible to have Ketel Marte on the team. Now, if you put yourself in the shoes of any of these teams, you think, oh, we have this amazing roster, throw in Ketel Marte, and boom, you're like doing great. But again, who do they think they should send? Well, they're saying, the article says they should send infielder and former first rounder Mikey Romero, right-hander Hunter Dobbins, and outfielder Josh Nixon Garcia to the Diamondbacks. And again, the only reason we would trade Ketel Marte is if we're getting pitchers in return. I think maybe somebody to kind of add a little bit of offense, but that's not why we would trade Ketel Marte. We're trading him so that we can get pitching because that's what we need. And when these guys who clearly don't know that, like they say it in their article, but then they're like, oh, you could trade 3 position players and 1 relief pitcher. They're like, that's not how that's going to go down. They also suggested the Detroit Tigers and they kind of give a similar one. They're like, oh, you could send outfielder Max Clark and infielder Colt Keith. And it's like, okay, that's not, you didn't even include 1 pitcher. So if you're seeing, I don't know, if you're seeing an article online, if somebody posts something and it says, oh, here's a potential trade, or here's why the Mets are gonna get Ketel Marte. That's not, there's no, like, there's, at least as far as I've seen, I have yet to see a realistic scenario where the Diamondbacks trade Ketel Marte because he's worth a ton. He's worth a ton because of what he's able to do, because of his production, and he's worth a ton because of how long we have him. He's worth a ton because of what he means to the organization, what he means to the fan base. And yes, there were reports of issues in the clubhouse with Marte halfway through the season, but then there are reports that everything got resolved and everything's good now. So I mean, if the reports are to be believed, that's not an issue. And the whole, well, if he stays for 1 more year, then he's going to have veto power on any trade. I don't see that being an issue. And I mean, I could see that being kind of an issue at some point, but I don't see that being a deal breaker. But there's so many other ones. There's articles talking about why the Phillies are going to get Ketel Marte. There's articles about why the Reds are going to get Ketel Marte. There's articles talking about why the Braves are going to get Ketel Marte. And the Mets, like I said, there are even a ton of people talking about how the New York Yankees are going to get Ketel Marte, even though Ketel Marte has a no trade clause saying, which I guess got worked into his contract when he signed his extension, that he could not be traded to the Yankees. So he could, I guess, otherwise they wouldn't be writing these articles and speculating this. He would have to waive that, so he'd have to agree to it. But apparently he does not want to go to the Yankees, so I don't know why they're talking about it. But it's just goes to show you how valuable he is perceived to be. And I say, yeah, he's absolutely that valuable. Does that mean I think we 100% need to keep him and he's untouchable? No, I don't. And we'll get to that after this short break, where we'll also hear your comments and what you think. So stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets to use it when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your first game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And we're back, and I wanted to say thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports network. Really do appreciate it. So let's talk about you. What do you think about this whole situation? I found apparently whenever I talk about Ketel Marte, more people tune in. So not that I'm just gonna over like milk this to death. But as long as this is what people are talking about, we kind of have to talk about it as well. So let's quickly go over some of just your guys' general thoughts. There are a handful of people offering like, oh, well, would this be a good trade? What about this? What about that? And there are actually some that I'm fairly impressed with. I don't know that it would necessarily happen, but it kind of, I mean, it's not laughable like a lot of these other ones. But let's see what we got here. Rich says controllable all-star pitcher for a 32-year-old player. Stop messing around. Listen, 32 years old, that's not that old. Like like people talk about 32 as if it's 50. And Marte is a relatively healthy player. He does, I mean, he does little stints on the injured list here and there, but he's never had like a massive year where he's out because he needs surgery and all this kind of stuff. He's a healthy player. He only continues to improve, and he's a multi all-star player. So it's like, okay, well, you want a controllable all-star pitcher for this old man? No, we want a controllable all-star pitcher for our controllable all-star second baseman. And so for a team that has depth in their pitching, but maybe not so much in their middle infield or their offense, that's kind of like the move, that kind of makes sense. That's a mutually beneficial situation. So kind of makes sense to me, but I understand why to the other team that might seem a little bit odd. But CA says they better get a bona fide number one starter and a utility player or middle reliever. That's what I think it would take. We would need a very good, we would need a new ace. We'd need an ace pitcher, whether they're a multi all-star pitcher or not, but we need somebody who can be an ace and who we can control for at least a few years. I like some people have mentioned Scooble. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to stay away from that because we'd get him for 1 year and that'd be it. And I don't think 2026 is the year to bet on. I think it could happen, and I'm going to be rooting for it and I'm hoping for it. But I don't see 2026 as like our do or die year, you know. So I wouldn't go for Tarek Skubal, but a bona fide number one starter and a utility player or a middle reliever, I could see that working out very well. I could also see a bona fide number one starter and a handful of prospect, like 2 or 3 prospects. But at least one of those prospects has to be a pitcher in addition to the bona fide starter. I think not that I'm saying that is the correct trade to make, but like CA said, I think that is what they would need to get in order, like that's what they would need to get in an offer in order to make a trade happen. So that's what I think. I agree with CA there. Let's take a look at this next comment from Storm Villains. That's a fun name. Storm Villains says D-backs could use a slight rebuild. They need to trade a few pieces. They're not willing, or they are not winning through this Dodgers team for at least another 2 years till Freeman, Betts get older and Ohtani starts to break down. Rebuild these next 2 years and be ready for 2028. I hate to like agree with you there. I think you're not wrong. I think the Dodgers are gonna be. I think it's very unlikely that we're gonna be able to pass the Dodgers in the next 2 years. The problem is that the Dodgers are made of money and they have excellent scouts and excellent coaching and a good farm. And so when Freeman and Betts get older, when Ohtani does start to break down, they're gonna get other superstars to replace them. So I don't think that is the solution. I think the Diamondbacks need to build a team that will continue to improve and get better every single year until their homegrown team is able to outmatch the Dodgers bought team, which we know it can happen. It happens all the time, but to be able to do that consistently. And I think in order to do it consistently, the Diamondbacks need to play smart and they need to hold on to the players that are working for them. So in this with in response to this comment, I would say that you have Marte, Perdomo, and Carroll. Hold on to the 3 of them because they're your core players. But then you have like, I don't know, you have Jordan Lawler. He's worth a lot, even though he had kind of a slow start last year. He's worth a good amount. I would hate to see it, but he might be, outside of Marte, our best bet at getting something decent in a trade, because McCarthy and Thomas are not going to get much in return, unfortunately. And a handful of people have, even like Eric, another comment here, said maybe Diamondbacks trade Alek Thomas and Jake McCarthy for Sandy Alcantara. I mean, Alcantara didn't have a great year, and he's only got one more year on his contract. So actually, that might, I was going to say heck no, but actually that might make sense. But you're not going to trade Thomas and McCarthy for an all-star starting pitcher or reliever. That's just not how it's going to happen. But another comment that David brought up, and I really like this. He says the problem I see is every professional trade prediction does it as Ketel. They say basically Ketel Marte is worth $60.7 million, and every time a team is discussed, they tend to try and match that monetarily. But the thing is it's going to take more, or at least $10 million more in value to make Hazen do it. I've seen some good ones suggested, but every one of them needs to drop their worst player and add $10 million in value to that to at least make it worth it. It's not going to be an even looking trade, period. And you're absolutely right. It's the kind of trade that's going to make people go, how on earth is that a good deal? Like the Diamondbacks are stealing this deal, and that's what it would look like. But the thing is if they do trade Marte to Seattle or the Mets or whoever, that the Mets or Seattle or whoever is going to be getting an amazing controllable second baseman who's going to be an all-star, and he's going to be excellent for at least the next 2 or 3 years, but likely until the end of his contract. Still going to be worth it. He may not be an all-star in 2029, but he'll still, I imagine, have a positive WAR, and he's still going to be a positive impact on the game for that team. So yeah, it's 100% worth it for the team to kind of do that, but it is going to look lopsided. It's going to be like, yeah, a lot of these suggestions are saying, okay, well, here's a really good pitcher, here's a really young second baseman, and here's another relief pitcher. It's like, well, okay, take that relief pitcher out and replace him with one of your or your best reliever, or 2 relievers that are really good, or something like that. Add $10 million worth in value to it. Because again, yeah, Mike Hazen's not going to say yes to any of that. And that kind of goes back to like the kind of what Hazen has been saying, and whatever, all the insiders have been saying who really know what's going on, is the Diamondbacks aren't looking to trade Ketel Marte. Like, that's not on the agenda. They don't have a whiteboard with a big figure out a good deal to get rid of Ketel Marte. The Diamondbacks are highly motivated to get rid of him is a total sham. It's totally false. It was just it was clickbait. Like, if you think I'm clickbait, which some people do, those guys, that is clickbait to a T. The Diamondbacks aren't shopping him around. They're not calling teams offering him. They are listening because there's a chance that somebody's going to give them a lopsided looking trade, and Hazen will go, wow, okay, if you're serious, let's do it. But if it's not that, then they're not going to do it. And so, because like a lot of people have been saying, he's 32 years old. He is maybe a little bit of a diva, I guess, if according to some people. And I don't know, there's probably other downsides to him, but I can't really think of any at the moment. And it's but there's, I guess there's reasons not to trade for him. There's always reasons not to do something, but if a team really, really wants him, then that's what they'll do. And I'm going to go ahead and read one more comment. This one from a longtime commenter, MP5. And he says I used his comment in the video, and he basically said the same thing but then added to it. So I'm not going to read the first part that he says, but he said basically we score tons of runs offensively. Our offense is amazing, and getting rid of Ketel Marte would cripple our offense. He says we score a ton of runs. We just need to hold on to what we have as far as that goes. Just fix the bullpen. Our starters are fine. Our offense is really good. It's our bullpen that's a dumpster fire. Don't tear down the offense to try and put that fire out. Now, there's a few things to note here, MP5, and please let me know what you think, because I know you're listening. But the one, just fix the bullpen, is a lot harder said than done, especially when it comes to the amount of money that we have. If money wasn't a problem, we wouldn't need to trade anybody. We could just keep everybody that we have and just sign free agents, because there's enough free agents out there that we could just sign, we could just sign all the relievers that we need, all the starters that we need, all the offense that we need, and be like, boom, yeah, there we go. And then we deal out everybody that we don't want and put them on waivers, and now we have a solid 40-man team. And that's what teams like the Dodgers, that's what teams like the Mets and the Yankees and the Red Sox do, and that's what these rich teams do. But the problem is that we don't have the money for that. So we can sign a few people, but then all of our money is going to go up. And you even say, it would be cool to get Goldschmidt back. That would be cool. Getting Gino back would be amazing. And let's get Kelly back and James McCann. So that's 4 people you want to sign. Goldschmidt, last time I checked, would be about 7 million or 12 million. I can't remember all of a sudden, but yeah, he'd be 7 to 12 million. Let's go conservative. Let's say $7 million to sign him for a year. Gino would be conservatively, according to estimates, about $23 million a year. So now you're at $30 million a year. Kelly is likely going to be anywhere from 12 to 23 million a year. So let's say 12. So that's 42. And McCann, he'll be 2 million. He might be more than that, but 2 million. We'll say 2 million. So that's 25 million right there. And that is as conservative as it gets. But again, I think it's gonna be a lot more than that. Probably close. All of that, you're probably looking closer to 40 or 50 million. The Diamondbacks don't really have that much to spend on 4 players, because they need more than just that. Like you said, we need to fix the bullpen. And so if you're like, okay, sign all those guys, but now we don't have any money, or we have, 5 million left. We're not going to fix the bullpen with $5 million. And you said that our starters are fine. We only have 3 starters. That's it. We don't have any more. We have some minor leaguers who are looking good but aren't ready. They'd be a deer in headlights if we put them up right now and get squashed. We don't really, we have Christian Mena, I guess, but even he's still probably not there yet. And then if we did sign Kelly, that's good, but we still need one more. And then you're like, well, then what happens if Ryan Nelson gets injured and needs Tommy John surgery? Oh, yeah, that's right, huh? Because they get injured all the time. That's our problem. So we need not only to fill the need, but we need to overfill it a little bit in order to not repeat the same thing. And so all of that being said, the thing that people are saying, which is true, is the Diamondbacks need to sacrifice a little bit of their offense in order to strengthen the defense. Because if they could do that, we would have made the playoffs. If our offense had room to spare, we could have produced a considerably less. If our pitching was good, we would have been fine. So now, is Ketel Marte, is it a good idea to get rid of him? I don't know. That might be a bit too much that we're giving up, unless we're getting a huge haul in return. But the thing about it, you give up Marte, you get somebody in return, payroll stays relatively the same. You can still sign people. That's why we're talking about trading people as opposed to just signing whoever you want. So anyway, that's my thought there. We didn't really get to any of the potential signings, but I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this subject a bit more throughout the week. So I'll hold on to those. But listen in because we're going to talk about more of those in future episodes. By the way, if you're not subscribed, you should go ahead and subscribe. It's pretty cool. Follow. We're on all the platforms where you get podcasts and all that kind of stuff. It's good fun. Anyway, we are going to talk about a bunch of news. We're going to go through it real quick, and it's going to be interesting and fun. We're going to love it. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in a stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, I'm looking at the time. This has been a long episode. Actually, it hasn't been a long episode. It's long for what it's supposed to be. I got I've been in talks with the Locked On podcast production people, and they said that they really like the show and everything's going good. And a lot of you guys in the comments have been very nice to me, and I appreciate that. But the idea is that these episodes are to go 30 minutes, and I have yet to make one that is 30 minutes. It's always over. So I'm going to try my best to work on that this week. But everything else was all 5 stars from the peeps at Locked On. So so anyway, a little peek behind the curtain there. A little bit of Diamondbacks news. I want to talk more about these things in future episodes, but let's go ahead and run through everything. The biggest news, in my opinion, is that Geraldo Perdomo got 4th in National League MVP voting. Now, I wasn't expecting him to be a finalist, to be completely honest. Though, had the Diamondbacks made the playoffs, I think he would have beat out Juan Soto. But he absolutely deserved it. He honestly, I think, got a little bit higher than I was expecting because we didn't make the playoffs. But neither did Soto. So, but he got second place votes. Like, I mean, he showed that, I mean, he is a valuable player. He is doing a lot for the organization and for the team. And he's 26 years old. This was a breakout season for him. And I am excited to see what happens this upcoming season. Hopefully, and it's looking like he's going to be even better and going to continue to improve. And so I'd love to see him make it as a finalist next year. That would be absolutely incredible. And more Perdomo news, though. The All MLB team was announced. Marte made the first MLB team at second base. Corbin Carroll made the All MLB team second team in outfield. And Geraldo Perdomo was not there. He didn't make either. And Bo Bichette made shortstop on the second team. But I think if he didn't make the if they didn't make the World Series, I don't think he would have made it. I am kind of shocked that Perdomo did not make that, especially if you compare stats between the two. We'll get more into it in a later episode, but absolutely snubbed there. I mean, he gets MVP votes. He's getting the recognition that he deserves, but he's not on the All MLB team. So that was a little funny. I don't know. Just my thought. Other news, Corbin Carroll is going to be playing in the World Baseball Classic for USA. So that's very exciting. Excited to see that happen. And another Diamondback adjacent news, just yesterday, the Mariners signed a 5-year deal with Josh Naylor. So Josh Naylor is staying with the Mariners, which I'm very happy for him. I think he absolutely should stay there. He did great on the Mariners. And there were kind of like a lot of talks of, okay, well, are the Mariners probably will sign either Josh Naylor or Eugenio Suarez. Which of the two will they sign? I was pretty sure it was going to be Naylor, but now that opens up Suarez, and a lot of talk has been on Suarez joining back with the Diamondbacks, which I think the Diamondbacks are a perfect fit for Suarez. I don't know that it fits into our budget very well. Because again, he's estimated to make up to 25, 30 million a year, and as low as 23. And the Diamondbacks have estimated anywhere from 25 to maybe 70 million to spend. Probably not even 70, probably 25 to 60 million to spend. And so if he's 25 million, that is potentially all of our budget, at the very least about half on a third baseman when we need pitchers. So I would rather see that 25 million go towards signing good pitching. But I would love to see Gino back. I think that would be really awesome. I think it'd be fun if we got Gino. Sorry, I've been watching K-pop Demon Hunters too much. Gino, and if we got Goldschmidt, and then that's our veteran players on the corners. That would be pretty cool. And then our middle infield as awesome as ever. I think that'd be pretty sweet. That would be great for our offense. Is it going to happen? I don't think so, but I would be excited to see it if it did end up working out. Anyway, guys, that's the show. Be sure to follow us on X and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Locked On Diamondbacks. We're on YouTube as well as every other place you get your podcasts. If you want to see more of me, you can find more of my YouTube channels and projects at my website, slackshack.tv. Thank you once again for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every single day, and I will see you tomorrow.